Okay, it seems we are live on Twitch. And it seems we will soon be live on Instagram. So, not that I need to say something like parameters. Wow, too many. Yeah, we are live on Instagram. So, okay, let's just reduce this for a little bit. Okay, a little jazz on the hair. So, we are live for this session. It's November session number 9. Camera 1, camera 2. Okay. November session number 9. Yesterday, we've explored. Let me reduce a little bit the music. Yesterday, I wanted to explore some nature's inspired body interpretation, and I had this idea about a floral mound mixing between some leaves mound and having this animation from up and down, and this was quite interesting, I thought, and I kind of like it, even if the design of the flora man is more interesting than the leaves man, because the leaves are kind of gamey in terms of design, and this is not the things I want. I had also some feedbacks on the global design of these experiments, and someone said it would prefer the first iterations when the ground was darker, and I'm totally agreed with I totally agree with this idea. At first I was using some checkboard on the floor just to have some size reference, but I think we can get rid of that. Also, I have this idea about bringing some reflection. I know that Unity has some post-process screen space reflection when you use deferred rendering. I've tried that with the second experiment, but it was not really a success, and let me show you why quickly, and after that I will explain the idea for tonight. So basically, the screen space reflections is a post-process shader, and I think it's take the information from the scene in order to project where it can reflect. So I'm not sure how it works, because I'm not quite I don't really know how deferred rendering works. In fact, I'm more used as of a forward rendering. So let me just save the scene as 09 because it's the scene for tonight. I will change the camera settings here to deferred rendering so you could see what I've tested before. So this is the screen space reflection, and normally if I click play we would see some of them. Hey, one viewer on Twitch, great. Happy to see someone here. So yeah, we can see a little bit here. So this is the screen space. Let me just collapse this little guy here. So this is basically the, I need to reduce the sound, it's some solo battery. So okay, so this is the screen space rendering, and you can see a little bit of the rendering here. So I can reduce the vignette here, but basically, first of all, it works especially with a ground using more metalness inside of it. I think is that, yeah. Now you can see my problem here. So if I want something really reflective like this, and so I've tried to tweak the value of the screen space reflection, but as you can see, it has these leaks, so it's not really great. So that's the quick part. That's for the quick part about the reflection. So why I've decided to talk about that? It's because I want to have some reflection, but I think I would made some change later during this experiment. I found a nice tutorial about it. I've tried various assets from Unity Asset Store, and I was not satisfied about it. It was too heavier as a process, etc., etc. So I thought it might be interesting to try it, to make my own reflection system. But I need some time to learn it, so I think I will not stream this part. I will try maybe next weekend or something like that, if I have enough time. But to change, to make some change on this, so the feedbacks comes from someone who told me that it was more interesting when the ground was darker. So let's make the ground darker. Maybe we can simply get rid of this pattern, and the way to get rid of this is maybe saying 0, 0, 0. So as you can see now, it's simply a darker ground. Let's say 10 by 10. Maybe I can keep some of this. I thought it was even on the y-axis, something like that. Okay, maybe I can keep a little bit of the checkerboard, but nah, I don't think so. So let's make a really darker ground, something like 10. A little bit of smoothness, of course, just enough. A little bit of metalness, and I think the other part will go from directly the directly from the lighting. Okay. A little bit more fog. Let's try that. Okay. So now the ground is darker. So let's keep that. C'est Ben, mec. Oh, salut Ben. Là, j'avais pas fait gaffe. Ouais, mais avec les pseudos, moi, je reconnais jamais. Ok. Codeur de mes deux, va. Salaud. Évidemment, codeur de mes deux, ouais. Et comment tu veux que je reconnaisse des pseudos comme ça, moi? PHX. Ouais, bah, Phoenix, ouais. Ouais, putain, je suis con. Je suis vraiment con. Ok. Euh, C'est au décalage de ouf. Bah, au moins, j'ai un viewer, c'est déjà bien. Bah, ce serait bien de voir la tienne aussi, accessoirement. Ok. So, about this idea I had in mind, I want to explore more the. I want to explore more the natural part. So okay. So enough with the third. I wanted to try to learn more about try something with the natural part. So yeah, something like this kind of leaves man with something different, and maybe changing it a little bit with something like that. Let me show you. So I was thinking about mixing two. Where was I? Yeah. I was thinking about mixing two experiments. First of all, mixing this one here with this one here. So basically, I will keep the I will keep the leaves and the flower, and I will also keep this movement here for the little elements here spawning and going to the back. But it would be some flowers, for example, and maybe two kinds of flower if we had some time. So let's try that. Okay. First, I would need to change all the controller. So once again, the compute, the controller, and the controller here would be different. So once again, we will need to change the name of them, which is this one and this one. So this one is 09 now, and this one will be 09, 09, 09. Okay. So this would work. Or not. Yeah, of course, because I always, as yesterday, I forgot this part also. So okay, so now that we change this part, let's take the controller here, removing this one. So bye bye this component. Now the GPU mesh controller, let's say we want 100. It was what, 11 0.5. Okay, so the word is 151, mean scale, let's say 11. We keep the 11 here, why not? We haven't tried any randomness in the size of the first elements. Okay, no, some white, 0.35, 0.25. I think we will get rid of this part and remove this component, remove this component too, and the 3D model was the Babiana, so let's keep the same. I don't remember which one. So it was the first one, it has less elements. So the Babiana, and then the material was the one. Okay. So with that, we will have on the 09 scene the same has not been assigned properly compute variable. I think I forgot the compute shader, of course, which is here. Okay. I think it was not the proper 3D model, so it might be this one we made. Yeah. So this was some of the base mesh. I think I will get rid of this scaling up animation. I want something fixed, so I can say something like that, 1 1. Okay, so first thing first, I need to fix this animation. Get rid of this little guy here and change our compute shader by simply fixing the scale. Okay. Okay, we have the first based element, and I want to change it by some 3D models I've prepared for this. So I want to have the full leaf man, and it will spawn some flower, which will each flower will be detached from the main body and will flow on the wind. So this basil might be our based element. So let's push the basil here, and I think I will need a new material, so something like that, and it would be renamed the 09 material. Okay, 09, and the 09 has this little guy here. Okay, So it's kind of good. In fact, it's kind of pretty good. The texture is not perfect because I think it has some transparency in it. So let's try this. No, no transparency. Show in Explorer. Let's modify the texture a little bit, because as you can see on the edge of the leaves it seems to have some dark area, as you can see here, and this gives us a little cartoonish effect, and I don't want this little cartoonish effect, and I don't want to have any. Oh, we can use alpha. Maybe we can simply try to use the alpha on the shader. Might be interesting to, for this one, try to implement some alpha shading. So why not? Let's call this 091 because I think we will have another one. So we will have. I think we will have this. For this one, we will have two different compute shader and two different materials. So okay, and I think it would be something like that render type. So Unity shader transparent. So it might be something like render type transparent, but I think I need to add the Q also in order to say that my shader will be Q on the transparent. Okay, and now I can say something like that with a beautiful error in my shader undeclared identifier C, because it's called RGB here. Unexpected parse error somewhere. Where is it? Oh yeah, don't need the column here. Okay, so did it work? Not a single part because I haven't set the blending, so I need to define the blending, something like blend source alpha 1 minus source alpha. And doesn't have any. Why I didn't have any alpha? How did it work on the Garden of Light? Maybe I have some. No, it was not on this part, it was on another one. Okay, assets, script, flora, no, vertex animation, texture, shaders, flora, VAT, soft body instance alpha, transparent, translate mode forward. I use a discard, so why did my alpha didn't want to surface shader? Do I have any fallback? Maybe I can get rid of this. So so of course I would need now to simply change, let me just say this is the, I can keep the fallback. I will need to change the texture, which is here. Yeah, it doesn't has any alpha on it, so interesting, but no alpha. So here and I could simply let me open Photoshop here, create a selection. Okay, and let's contract this selection, right, pixels. Okay, and now save this as a PNG, diffuse alpha. So this is diffuse alpha. Alpha is transparency, and apply, and now we have it. So I can use our new texture here and try it. Does it work? And I can see from here that it worked perfectly. We can now have our little alpha on our basil. Okay, so we have our basic men. We can simply change some scale. So let's say we want some difference in the leaves. Okay, we can also add some rotation, and then we can try to add more leaves. Okay, maybe it's not enough. Let's say what, 500, 5,000. Okay, that's some things. maybe too many, but that's something. 300, 3000 maybe. Okay, this could be our little leadsman. So we still need to change a few things. So I will need to change these parts, and I think I will need 5 things here. I will keep the bump map, the AO, the metalness, etc, because it might be interesting to generate them. I will put the emission to 001. I don't want some emission, and I will put the point multiplier by 0 because I don't want to have the light casting on it, the light animation we've made. So now I have my little guy here, so no problems. Okay, so I can focus on cleaning a little bit my controller and my my other elements. So do I need to change something on the controller? I think so. I think I will get rid of some of the elements we've made, so something like that. This part would be deleted, so I don't need this part. So this might be our based system. Okay, so now I have my controller and my compute, and as I said, I will use 2 compute shader, so rename and say compute 1, and I will have a compute 2. Okay, so I think the controller will be the same, so I can duplicate, paste as new, and I will change the compute shaders. So I will try simply by at first to spawn some flower on it. So I've also made some flowers, it might not be a problem. So I have this little guy here, and I have another little guy here to bring some difference inside our elements. So we'll try with the first one, so let's say this one. Okay, 3000 again. Oops, I've changed the wrong one, so this is the basil. Okay, and this is the elements we want to change, and I will use another materials with no texture in it, because this little guy here doesn't have any UV. So if I want to bring some color, I can simply bring something like going from purple to, let's say, blue, for example. And try this. Oh yeah, changing this. So we've seen at spawn something really big on the dark here, so we have some problem on our flower, which seems to be too big. So let's try something like 0.1. Oops, too big again. 0.01. 0.0001. Yeah, apply. Okay, so something between them, just two of these two value might be interesting. Okay, so as you can see, we have now some flowers, which seems to be to has a really powerful color in it, so maybe we can reduce a little bit the darkness of the color. Okay, as you can see, we have some flower, and some of them might be a little bit, yeah, some of them are already too big, so we can again reduce this little guy here. Let's try with something with a size of 1. I need all of them to be the same size, so something like that. Apply. And let's try to have all of them of the same size to check. Okay. So for me, if I pause the elements and try to zoom on it, size of the flower seems a little bit too big again, but I can reduce somewhere else, so it might not be a problem. We can also use something quite interesting in the shader. It's simply using this multiply by I don't remember if we bind something. I don't think we bind any value on the compute shader. Yeah, so we simply use the color. So maybe we can say something like in.color.a in.color.a. So by doing that, I might be able to simply have one. Oh no, I thought it would use the alpha from the okay, so it doesn't use this alpha, so why not? Okay. So let's keep the flower. Let's keep this flower for a moment. We will recheck the shader later. And I can add another one. That would be our last flower. So maybe in order to debug everything, I will put some nasty color. The first one where we will be blue. And the second one will be copy as new, and the second one would be something orange to yellow, so something like that. Okay, and I can use this second subflower I've made. Where is it? I don't really know, but I think if I simply change the scale a little bit, you will see it. Yeah, apply. Yeah, again. I've used the same material, so again I need another material here. Mat 3, okay. So we have the same size. Okay. Now I have some yellow flower and some blue flowers. So basically the final design is really not that. It really needs some change. but at start it's interesting. Let's cut C4D for a moment. I don't need to save anything, so okay. So as I said, I want my flower to spawn and go to another place. So let's check a little bit before going to the compute shader. Let's check a little bit the GPU mesh controller and say, okay, it's spawned at a random position, which is good, no problem, and everything seems to be okay on that part. We have the first compute shader. We need to retake a little bit to clean it. Simply, we don't need the rotation, we don't need the scale, we don't need anything, so no problem. Maybe we can add a little bit of rotation on himself, something like going back and forth using the actual position on the previous one, maybe, so why not. Okay, and this is the one we will modify to simply add some animation, so we will need something like that. Let's remember 1, 2, 3. So yeah, it's the scene 03 we want to take, the one when we use the curl noise, etc, etc. So the scene 03, so it would be this one, and this was all the elements we've made. Okay, so let's put this shader aside for a moment. Okay, so right now we have all the elements here. We've taken a random value, we have a random time, but the time was basically based here on the main time, so I need to make everything back to this time. Okay, time. Also, I bind something here, I don't need this. Okay, again I need I've made these 3 variables, I've deleted them. These 4 variables, in fact, I want the interval, the thickness, the time, the max time. Okay, the time is always bound, so I need to recreate a max time value. So let's say max time, and this would be equal to the random value we've made just up to this line, so multiply by 8 and creating an offset by 0, 5, 15, 25, 25. Okay, so this is the max time. So now the max time is this, okay, this and this. Okay, and we have the loop, we've said it, so no problem for the loop. We have the position, random offset. Yeah, we use a random offsetter. I think maybe we will use the random offsetter, which depends on the index and the random per instance, which is basically on the data, so no problem here. But we need to create a new index, and for that we need a new random. So the new random could be simply something like float random index. That would be, let's say, a random of the float value of the loop plus the index plus the random per instance. So I will get this value here, because this value doesn't change. Okay. The float 3 position. Okay, so this is the loop, and it might be enough, in fact, to say that this is the random index would be a int value of this multiplied by position count. Minus 1. Okay, so now I can simply put this, so the index would be random each time the loop change. So let's try that. Identifier thickness somewhere, so yeah. Let's simply comment everything here. I don't need that for a moment. I just need to check that my flower are changing position. So yeah, as you can see, some of them disappear, some of them reappeared. So the time system work. Okay, so now we have the position, we have the offsetter of the position, so we really simply just a little bit offset the original position. So the position is the random pose, which is the offsetter multiplied by the random. Yeah, so this is the position. Okay, we have the original position, we save the original position of each loop. Okay, but we need some new velocity now, so this is the movement, so we will need some move. I will call this pose noise scale. This would be 0.05 float pose noise ink. .25, for example. Float 3, we create a velocity vel, which is a curl noise, so we'll use our function curl noise of our position multiplied by the noise scale, the pose noise scale, sorry, plus the time multiply. Yeah, I need something like float pose noise speed, so I need to multiply by the speed. Let's say 0.5. Okay, so this is the velocity. Then I could say the position is simply equal to himself plus the velocity multiplied by the noise scale. No, the noise ink, sorry. So now the flower seems to be moving really fast. Maybe I can add something like, let's say, what value I've used lately. I think the noise ink was not too big. I think it was less. Yeah, as you can see, it's moving a little bit. The main problem is I always get the position from this index, so I can simply say something like float 3 position. Yeah, I need to declare this, and why I will just because the last time we've made this moving experiments, I forgot that the position is the read-write value, so I basically need to say if the loop is the original loop is the same loop, basically the position is the value which is stored inside the matrix. So this is the float 3 which is stored inside the tier mat at 0 0 0 3, sorry, 2 3 and 3 3. So it's the last position. So 1, whoops, okay, 1 and 3. So if it's the same, the position is this actual position. If not, this is this new position. So this is it. So basically we are knowing the position. Yeah. And now it's going somewhere. I don't know why it's going here. Did I make a mistake? Of course the position is that element. It's a float 3. Yeah, it's better. I think I've made a mistake somewhere, but okay. And something we've made on the other element. So all these little guy here in fact are going when we need to reset the position. So this was my mistake because it's only used when we redefine the position. So it's going here. Okay. And the last time we simply use also the norm time to scale down the velocity. Okay, so right now it's not really fully interesting, but let's again try to think about it a little bit. So the noise scale, here is the same, the velocity. I also thought this the last time we also used this in order to orient our noise. So the basic idea is to orient the noise on the z-axis. So why did I use this part, this little guy here? I don't know. I think we've used a random value, so that's okay, and we can use the random of theta, I think. So this random pose will be here, so let's say for 3 random pose, because I need a random per instance, so I will use this little guy here. And because we didn't want some zero value, so we have multiplied by something going from 1 to 2, and now we have a lot of flower spawning at really high speed. Some of them are really speedy. Let me close Photoshop for a moment. So let's say the max time will be not 8, the max time would be something between 2 seconds and 10 seconds, so just to as you can see, look like the time is not really offset at the moment. Let me fix a little bit the camera. Some of them are really speed, some not, but as you can see, it's it's at high speed. Does it come from the noise? I don't think so. Yeah, it's come from the noise, so really depends on the way I've set the noise. Okay, so float, no problem. So it might depend on the noise scale. Yeah, the noise scale needs to be something like that, first of all. Don't forget that my random position here, I don't remember, but I think it's multiplied by 2, so this random position here, I need to rescale this from -1 to 1, from -1 to 1 to 0, 1, because if not, I've made that some jiggy results because the z vector is not in the same direction than the curl. Okay. And now this might be a little bit too much. So we can scale this a little bit. So this is here, and this is here. So let's say float pose z scale is equal to 0, 1, for example, just to say that this is a little bit scaled down to avoid some value too high. Okay. So now if I say something like 0.5, for example, that was that what I had in mind at first. Okay. Too much elements, of course, but why not? Too much element, but why not? Okay. This part is good. Maybe we can reduce a little bit the number of elements, just to say, I don't know, maybe 500 and 500. Just to see more of the flower spawning. Okay. Next things is the rotation. So the rotation was on another experiment, which was which one? Okay. We've used the rotation here, I think. Yeah. And this one also. This one was quite interesting. And we use also this one. So let's try with first of all this one. So it was the offer. So let me open the offer. Compute offer. And we will simply duplicate the value for the rotation. So this is the position. Now we will use the rotation. So again we will have a direction which is the, in fact the direction is the vel without any, so float 3 s vel for said vel will be the vel. So let's use a noise on the vel. now we can apply the rotation. Redefinition of deer at kernel. Yes, because we already use this. No problem. We can simply put this here and delete this part. Okay. Bind position. And this will be rot noise scale. And rot noise ink. So this is this one and this one. Okay. We applied the 4x4, which is rotation. So as you can see, too much rotation. Too much. It's kind of strange. Maybe we cannot use this, but we will use simply the position. Whoa. Whoa. I don't know why, but do we overwrite something? Yeah, so right now the rotation not the rotation, but the event seems interesting. But if we apply the rotation, it suddenly change completely, because I think the rotation changed its position, etc. So what's happened if we simply And this was not the case when I've used the velocity. The average years is not used anywhere. I've made an up vector, so no problem. As you can see, it's really it changed too much. Do I've made something? Maybe there's something, might be something on the rotate. Maybe the last part need to be, for example, 1. This is basically not the main problem. But when I've used the S-vel, so the velocity without any change, it works a little bit. Usually the direction might simply be the velocity, but here I want to try with the curl noise, but and if we use the S-vel, in fact this is really the system, in fact. Yes, it is. So if we check something like that, so this is basically my main direction, and if I want I can create simply a new noise, but I need to scale it. Rot noise ink, so it is rot time, and this will be noise ink, and let's say 01. So this is it, and here is going here. So now I'm adding a little bit of noise inside the elements, but it's kind of glitching every time I want to. I'm not sure if the glitch comes from the program directly, some kind of lag. Doesn't seem to be a lag. For me it's not a lag. For me it's more like maybe the lag might come from this part. Too many GPU readback requests. Let me disable the NDI output for a moment, just to clean everything. Do we have any? Yeah, we have some glitching, we can see them. Is it some glitch, or does it simply does it or is it the scale simply? This will be a scale math. No scale. Okay, so now let's change a little bit the new scale to check if it's our problem. It might be a float. It will be better. It would be simpler to compute because it's the same for each component. So okay, and let's say for example it's 1 minus the norm time, just to say that we're simply taking this from 0 to 1 to 1 to 0, and to check if the glitch I thought is a glitch or simply the elements which just respawn, because I think it's simply the elements respawning. No, I've seen some glitches. Yeah, okay, so I have some glitch coming from this curl noise, so for a moment we will avoid it, no problem. Sometimes I can see some of, yeah, we can see them. I don't know why they speed up like that. I can simply change this, in fact. If we simply put a wind value at start which is the same, yeah, seems to be better for me. So now it might be the max time, which is, for some of them, I want a max time between, I would say 2 seconds to 8 to have really a good animation. And if we increase the elements, now I can reactivate the NDI. Let's say 1000 here and 1000 here. Okay, max time seems good, but this doesn't seem good, so I offset everything, so maybe I can offset everything from, I don't say, half of the time, so time plus the max time, for example. Okay, can create a second random because the offset plus the max time are really the same here, so let's say this plus this plus this. Oh. Okay, so now that we have this little guy here, pi by 1 plus this random value just to check. Okay, okay. The is time A is a cubic of the time is a cubic of a ping pong time here. So out cubic 11 using cheat sheet. Which one are you, the cubic? Cubic. It's going from 0 and up to 1. So it's something accelerating or decelerating? Decelerating, so up and then so it's a deceleration of the value going from 1 to 0 to 0 1 1 to 0, which I don't really want, in fact. I might prefer something speeding up just to try. Let's use this for not the position but for the scale. Or even for this one also. Yeah, more something like that. Do we need the norm time at the end here? I'm not sure we will need the norm time. Yeah, so as you can see, we don't need the norm time here. It speed up everything here. So if I get rid of this part, right? It's an art change. I think it's better right now. Okay. I was thinking about adding some, so to the velocity, adding some gravity to it a little bit. Try to see what's happened if the flower is going to the ground, which is basically not interesting, in fact. Let's simply invert this and use the is time as the scaled value. Okay. How's my flower? I think my flower going. Okay, so let's change a little bit this by something like -0.5. Some of them are really disappearing without scaling down, so why that? When we used the max time, it was not a problem. When we used the norm time, sorry. Yes, it was also a problem because I need to invert the max time, of course. So Okay. Okay, so now we have something like that. So let's say in out quad, and I will use this here, and I think I don't know why some of them are simply not scaling, but the scale is here, so this is scale, 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 no problem. And I've used the scale here, so for example, if I say something like that, I will see a lot of, let's say, scale dot x. Yeah, so yeah, it's basically scaling, so no problem here. So why does my scale is not working? I'm not sure. Okay, so I will duplicate this one, and I will start to work on the shader part. Okay, I think we've get rid of the discard. We have some texture, sure, no problem. We have some noise used on the UV, but we will not use them, but we can keep everything. Or delete the emissive, in fact. Global emission, okay, we will keep the alpha. The emission right now, let's simply delete this and simply use the albedo. Smoothness, metalness, normal map, okay. It will be a bump. Metallic, it will be black. Let's say everything will be black if we don't have this. Okay, this we don't need it, this we don't need it, and this again I think we don't need the noise, so this is enough. Okay, and we still need something from an older shader. I would like to keep this part, the discard value. Which was that, in fact, okay. Yes, I want this discard. Okay, let's think a moment. We have the transform, the rotation, the scale. We don't use the color, we don't use the alpha color. Data.y was the time. I don't think we need the time right now. Here we've bound an index, a value. I have something here which is the time per instance and which was the global time, so I can put simply my is the time from this shader, this one for example, this in out quad. I can put it here and use here in, so it will be a smooth step of 0 alpha test in data.y. I need to put the alpha test here, so this I don't need them anymore, so I can say float alpha test, this no, and simply say alpha test is equal to alpha test, and is a range between 0 1 and it's equal to 1 for the moment. Syntax error expecting at line 14. This expected token. Where did I make a mistake? Okay. Alpha test virgule. Oh, my! I've changed something like that, so I've turned at this line, but it was not at this line. This was because this is the threshold matrix. So the smooth step is basically coming here instead of the noise offset. Okay, so now I can get my too little value here and try to check. Doesn't seem to work. Why? Did I change anything? Was this and this? Sure, no problem. And this one doesn't need to be an alpha, of course, it's opaque. So it's the same as this one, an opaque render type. I thought the alpha test would work with that. Did I forget something? In the data.y, this is the discard value. It's coming from this. Because if I set something like 0 1 in it, okay, so this is basically what we have here. So if I say I want the norm time, I might made a mistake somewhere. Okay. I think it's more something like I want something going from this from 0 to 1 and not the invert. And now I can simply use this inverse of time. And this would work. So I can simply make some flower disappear for 0.25 for example, if I want less trail, but I want bigger trail, so I would set 0.01. Okay. So the main little guy is good, I think. We have some flowers spawning on him. We have some animation. I don't think we will rotate this shader, which is basically the same as the old one. So we don't need the transform, we don't need the scale. So I don't need to compute this part. I just need the position, in fact. So I don't need this. It's always when you try to make these things, yeah, if I don't reset some max time, okay. So this is our little guy. We could also make something quite different than the other animation on this one. We could simply say something like that in the velocity. For example, we could have said something like adding simply the velocity, so we can say this go here, this go here, and making some flower going up, for example, which would be something like that, but I'm really not sure. It's not really interesting. So the position is clearly this, so no problem. Okay. So what we could change now is because we have our behavior, so no problem. Maybe the max time could be a little bit more, something like between 10 seconds to 5 seconds to 15 seconds to have some bigger trail. I think we will try to avoid this too many bloom. Okay, so basically now I can re-enable the NDI just to see the output and think about it a little bit. So now we have our main little guy. Okay, he's here, he's spawning some flower. We might have some bug in the flower, some seems to be appearing, disappearing, I don't know why, but we have seen some of them glitching here, as you can see. I don't know why some of them are appearing, disappearing. It's not about the color because I've disabled it. Might come from the max time that we have this here. We also have an offset, so no problem. We don't override this, so data.z seems to be good. If we are not on the same loop, we've basically changed the loop. The index is always the same, so this random doesn't seem to change. Might come from the kernels, but why? It shouldn't to have too many. Okay. Okay, so let's focus more on the design part. We will check on the this little scale problem later. It's normal if it's not perfect because it's November, so it don't means to be perfect. It's just a prototype. Okay, so I was thinking about changing some of the elements here. So with taking this GPU mesh controller, no problem. I'm running everything, I've bind everything, I use the same model, so no problem. Maybe I can change this, so copy. And so first of all, something that might be interesting is simply change the min-max scale for having some more bigger flower, and because all the flower are the same size right now, so it's not really interesting even for this one. So let's say 0.5 1.5. It's quite in pain in the ass, see too many readback requests coming here. Okay, and one thing that might be interesting is also having some copy component, paste as new, duplicate this and change the texture by simply so I will create a new folder which is max underscore 1109. So I will put everything right now under this. Okay, so in the 09, in the model, I will took our basil alpha here, and I think it might be interesting to use this here with some white and dark value here, and to try to also spawn some basil, not a lot, but a little bit. So as you can see, we have now some flower. I'm start thinking about, does it come from this little guy here, this little mesh controller, or not? So let me copy the component and remove it to try. Well, as you can see, some of them seems to be glitching also, so yeah, we've seen some of them glitching. I don't know why. So it's the moving one. This one are the fixed one. But maybe we can... No, I don't think so. Okay. So I could copy this and paste this one also as new. Not having too much elements, but again, just a little bit. Let's say this one will be purple, for example. I'm really not focusing on the direction, on the art direction right now. Only the... Okay. So this is the flower, and it has the matte 2, but I need this one, which would be a matte 5. Removing this and setting this. Okay, so I have 5 components. So now my little guy has some flower on himself. So this is good. I don't understand why some of them are glitching, but I will try to focus on this later. Okay, seems good for me. For the behavior only, the design part need to be retaken. Yes, so I need to retake everything. Okay, let me check the global controller, which is here. I hope it doesn't come from this one, but this is strange. I think this kind of glitch might be quite strange, in fact. You can see a lot of them are spawning and disappearing and spawning again, and why that? Why that? Doesn't seem to come from anything like that. The rotation? Yeah. I think I found some of the problem. Okay. Might come from the rotation, I think. And as you can see, the scale is quite good. So might come from that. Maybe I just need to... Where is my rotation? I don't need this part on the rotation, so I only take the velocity, which is the direction. So sure, no problem. I might need to normalize this value, of course. And this could be this part. Did we get rid of the glitch? I think so. I think yeah. I think we didn't have any glitch. Some of them, I think the glitch come from some rotation. It's not the glitch, but it's not really a glitch. It's because the rotation are just going from one axis to another, and it's basically a glitch in the rotations. Okay. And now I want something like this was okay, and I want to create a new one with the subflower again as new. The subflower is here, so this is this one, and maybe some orange to yellow. Of course I need a new material, which is basically a new instance of this one. Okay. Did I have some of them on my elements? I need to change a little bit the color, I think. Did I change this? Okay. Do I use the first compute? Yes. Did I use this? Okay. Or maybe I can change a little bit the color of the flower. Maybe on the blue. The main idea is simply to see all the flowers on the shape. So I think we can see some of them which are fixed. So we have the base system for our one, so we can push a little bit more flower on himself. Okay, something like that. In terms of numbers of flower, it might be enough. The main problem comes from the design now, which is kind of ugly right now. Okay, so if the design is kind of ugly, it's because, okay, I haven't seen, okay, it's because we need to retake a lot of parts of these little guys. First of all, we have a bloom which is too prominent on each element. And we haven't changed anything in the second shader, in fact. So this one was okay, but I thought, yes, I can change a little bit this part also. So we don't need this. The albedo is okay. The glossiness, the roughness, the ramp, we don't need the ramp. We don't need all this part. We don't need the noise. So, okay. So this was basically the main shader in our other materials. So let's remove the unnecessary elements. Okay, so mat 5, mat 6 and mat 1 are the three main components, and I think we can put a global illumination, and I think we can put a global illumination for each of them to 0. Yeah, everything is set to 0. Okay, no global illumination seems correct to me, so let's check. Let me think about it a little bit. Let's run this little guy. Let's see it. Yeah. Let's wait until it's on the beautiful stop. Okay. So we might be able to change a little bit the flower, but it might be in the 3D part, so I'm not sure I will change this part right now. I think we will need to retake the green of the basil. We can start with the basil, in fact. We could start with the basil, and we can play with some. The yellow part might be interesting. Something. Oh, you know what? We can simply just try to find a bouquet. this kind of colors, for example, or what we can try to use some ramp. We can use the color. The color is right now used for defining the color of the flower, but we can use a ramp. So let's open Photoshop, and at first let's try the basil. Let's go on Behance. We can also find some great color combination for the bouquet. So I will go back on this part. So first of all, I think I need to change something here. It's too luminous. It has to yeah. I think I will need to change a little bit to make it a little bit darker. Basil is quite interesting, but true, even if the basil is green, it's really green. A beautiful basil, it has some light in it, so but for the sake of our project, maybe we can simply just say something like that. So yeah, reducing a little bit the green value. Maybe we can just reduce the contrast. Where is the contrast here? Luminosity and contrast. So the contrast is too hard for me, so maybe we can reduce a little bit as the luminosity also. So before and after, so might be better. This would be our main basil. Okay, so let me save this as a basil.psd. I could then try to generate an ambient occlusion, for example, and a rough map, etc, etc. And also I can simply create with Photoshop it as a nice normal mapping generator. So maybe we can try this one. Okay, so now we have our normal map, so maybe we can change a little bit the detail here. Okay. It seems to be not the right direction for this. No, is it the right? It's the right direction. Maybe, yeah. Zero virgule, so comma 5. Okay, so let's keep this normal. It's not perfect, but it might be enough. I said it would be interesting to try to generate, using the black and white, try to generate an ambient occlusion, and this might be something like using this and inverting this to create some nice ambient occlusion. So the idea of the ambient occlusion is generating some shadows directly inside the shape, some baked shadows. So I think something like that, for example, with a little bit of curve to try to add some light on it and to reduce a little bit the shadows, but for them on below. Something like that. So this would be our albedo, our ambient occlusion. So this is the albedo, and this is the normal, and this is the AO. Okay, and I will create again with the black and white some metalness and some ruggedness. Might be something like that. Let's try that. Okay, not sure if it's MS. Okay, so let's try basil. This will be basil metal. This would be, as the PNG, basil ambient occlusion. This would be the normal map. So basil normal. Okay, and this is the albedo. Oh, I forgot. For the albedo, I also have some alpha. So where is my base albedo I've made in the model Flora 2 basil here? Okay. So this is the base one. Okay, and okay, so let's check and let's try to change a little bit. So this is on mat 1 and I think it's on mat 4, so yeah, mat 1. So this is the alpha. Okay, the normal map needs to be defined as a normal map, so no problem. Okay, so mat 1. The ambient occlusion is here, the normal map is here, the metalness and the ruggedness are here, and before changing anything on the second things, let's check. For me it's a little bit better. Now we can simply, for the two of them, try to change a little bit the gray value to try not to have some black texture. So okay, so on this one, let's go back. The bump map, the ambient occlusion, the metalness and the ruggedness, which are the same. Okay, So now we will need some, I can add some little global illumination here, not too much but just enough. Okay, so this was too much. 0.05. Okay, 0.05 is enough. 0.05. And now the idea might be using a ramp for the flowers. So basically, let me just change this shader a little bit, which is this one. We already have a ramp here which can be useful, but we haven't used it, so let's try something like that. It would be a fix for ramp RGB, which is the text 2D of our ramp in the UV main text coordinate. So it's in .uv main text. Okay, but basically we will not use this because the color is uniform and our elements are not in the we need to remember some of our model have some UV coordinate and some doesn't have them, so we will need to create some kind of elements, some kind of boolean. So the first of all, on the y-axis we will be 0.5, but on the x-axis I can use in.color.x, for example. So I will get the ramp. I will now create something like that. So I know there is some kind of bool in the shader, but yes, this is, you can say something like toggle. So this is textured. Okay, and simply we would say something like that. So if the object is textures, we will use the texture. If not, we will use the ramp. And of course I forgot to declare this and saying float is texture. Okay. And as you can see, because it's false, it's using the ramp I've set up for every element. So this one, for example, is textured. So if I said okay, so we'll keep this, so it's okay. And we could use the same, in fact, on our other shader, which is here. So let's use this part here, and I need the ramp. Oh, as you can see, the ramp has been deleted, so we will need to recreate ramp here. Okay, so basically taking this to this, the ramp is here, no problem. We have the albedo here, ramp here, ramp here, and other albedo will be equal to that. We also need the ramp here, so we don't have a problem here. And the is texture value here. So for the fixed elements, so for example, is textured. This one is not textured, so we will use the ramp. This one is textured, these are not textured, so now it will use the ramp. Okay, it's quite better now. And now we can simply focus on the colors of our flower. So let's find some references. Studio may not find something in there, I think. Okay. Let's it like that. I think something in terms of some color from white to yellow with a little bit of a complementary color might be interesting, you know, because I think it's quite interesting to have this little white pink man, so this is kind of beautiful. We need to reduce a little bit the bloom, of course, but something like for example 1.5, just enough. So yeah, something like that. I think it's interesting. Okay, 1.5 is interesting. Yeah, and the basic ramp we've used is this one. So the 110220 in the assets texture ramp, and it was, let's open this PSD, but it was this one. Okay. Okay, so this was this one. Then we can try to shift it a little bit on the pink and try another shift. Let's pick a value, something like that. So this, and if I add, this would be this color, the complementary. Okay. Something like this plus this, and this plus this would be the complementaries, and this for this one, so it would be 21. So this use this one, this use this one, and if this will be using this one. Let's try this. We can have some color in it. The blue is interesting, but not this one. We need to add some more. My. Might be interesting to add a little bit of this. And a little bit of this to increase just enough. kind of like this little white and blue. I think I will go with that. Maybe we can get less less basil. Oh, and of course I need to set everything, so something like 0 if I want to really have some proper value in the ramp. So this is the basil, this is the other basil. So I forgot that because I used the color to multiply on the ramp, so it used the x value of the blue. Okay, so I said I want less basil. So I have, so this one is the compute 2, so this one are moving, this one are moving, and this is the main basil. So more interesting now. But it's more interesting to have less flour and more basil on the body. Okay, so we found the element. So let's try some other room just to check. Some of them are quite beautiful, in fact, especially in the purple one. It's kind of interesting. I will go with this one. Okay. Maybe I wanted to try a little bit of rotation. I said on the just to give some on the first computer to give a little intensity on our little guy, so I can get something like that. Okay. So for example, okay, let's say something. Let's try something like think that the position is okay. This is the position, and I will put something like I want to try something. So properties. So the original position is the original position bound by the GPU mesh controller. So basically, it's here it's the normal vector, but for the first frame. Okay. But let's. Did I use this somewhere else or not? Oppose. Okay, in the compute 2 I take it, I redefine it, but I didn't use anywhere else, so I think I might simply say that I don't want this and simply redefine this as so the first time the original pose is the first position on of our instance on the shape. And my main idea is to compute the difference between the main position and the new position, which will give me the velocity, in fact, of our vertices. So if it's on my end and this one, and it goes from this position to this position, I will have this vector. So I might be able to why can't I this normalize vel? Because this is a float 4 opposition. So if I have the velocity, I can simply rotate along this velocity. So by simply saying that, if I say this, I will not have an error. I think it's here. No, it's not here. Oh yeah, I see. Okay, it's me. I'm lost in my own. So yeah. So the direction is basically the target, which is the position, minus the original position. So minus oppose. And this will give me some velocity, so I might have some rotation, so I need to apply them, but I might have some rotation based on the velocity. So it's not the real rotation along the velocity, but it might give us a little hint of how the element will move following the. So yeah, so now it's, you can see it has a really powerful rotation based on the velocity, which is really not what we want like that. We need to scaling this really down, something like that. I think 10% would be too much again. Okay, so let's say something like 001. But I've normalized this vector, so why? It's a quaternion, so might be the problem. Okay, and it changed all the rotation, so I think I will go with rotation based on the noise, simply. Like something like that, something like a S noise of the position, for example. A curl, we can reuse a curl, in fact. A simple curl. Let's try something to change a little bit. So the curl with position kind of work. We need to scale down a little bit. As you can see, we have this kind of rotation, so no problem. But we could simply say something like that if we want to scale up a little bit. And we could add some randomness. So now it's too much, as you can see. You can say 1.5 plus a random value which is static for each instance. So this would give us a little so yeah, as you can see, we have a little animation now on the leaves. So it might be enough for this to work. So it was the idea to have something really small moving, not to be just some moving sensation. Yeah, something like that, as you can see. Okay, so I think this is the end for tonight. We finish our second nature man which is composed from basil and some flowers. Um, Everything can be retaken from, especially from the 3D model, and from also the texturing parts, to bring some more interesting, not look game, working with some lighting, etc., etc. But we basically focus on the idea of body interpretation, and texture materials are for the second part. So it's really it was really the main idea. So I hope you like it. See you tomorrow for the next one. I have some other idea I want to explore. Maybe we will quit the nature experiment for a moment. Maybe not. I don't know right now. Sometimes idea pop up. Sometimes I write them down. Sometimes not. So we will check tomorrow. So thank you for following this stream tonight, and hope you like it. And see you tomorrow. Bye everyone.